Hey folks, as you see by the thumbnail here, we're getting into something interesting today. Now, forgive me, this is a little bit of a long video. It's going to go about almost 14 minutes, but bear with me. The guy you see on the screen, and as you can tell from the thumbnail, this is Amigh Smith. And I put that in quotation marks for a reason. Okay? Bear with me. You got to stick with me on this one. This is a very crazy, serious video. Now, this guy right here, I met him years ago. I met him about 1999, maybe 2000. He was living across the street off of Clay Avenue in the area of Olive and Peach in Fresno, California, East Side, Fresno, California. He was living across the driveway, across the street in another apartment right there from my brother and his girlfriend. That's when I first met him, and he introduced us to some music and stuff. He said he was from Compton, said he was a Crip, all this stuff. That's what he told us. Immediately when I met him, I told my brother, I don't believe the guy. The guy just didn't seem like he was genuine with who he really was. Anyways, a few years went by. I didn't see him for about another 2 or 3 years. I ended up recording this album with a friend of mine named Hip, James Johnson, in Fresno, California. A very good friend of mine, Beat Down Productions Multimedia. I ended up recording an album there with him. I met up with him through a mutual friend, Ray Settle, who introduced me to him. We ended up recording an album. My first album was It's a Dirty Job. During that time recording that album, I ended up going to a show that Local 13, my friends, were headlining. And it just so happens that as you see the picture on the screen, Amigh happened to be performing there. There's a picture right here on the screen from this performance down at Pizza Land. And it was a dope show. He ended up getting on last minute. He ended up performing. He knocked it out. He had the look. He had the sound. I personally dug some of the stuff, but there was always something uneasy about him that I didn't really fuck with. It was just an energy that I didn't know that was present. But I did this album, Hip being proud of the first full project outside of Local 13 that he had produced, mixed, and mastered. He placed my cover of It's a Dirty Job in his studio. He put it on the wall to show it off a little bit because it was the first project he had did that wasn't him, Falcon, Local 13. So when he put that up there, a year or two later or whatever it was, a lawyer comes in with a rapper and he wants Hip to kind of coach him, kind of get him through, to teach him how to learn the studio because he was raw and he didn't know really how to work the studio. And he wanted Hip to teach him how to work the studio. You know what I mean? And so what happened is Hip says, yeah, I'll help this guy out. No problem. Get him to the next level, teach him how to do the studio and stuff like that. So Hip agrees to work with him. But at the same time, the guy says he has connections to Suge Knight, that this lawyer has the connections to Suge Knight. And he's trying to get some artists to take down there to get signed and get some money and get a deal. He asks who I was, which he saw my album cover up there on the wall, and he asked, well, who's that guy? And Hip told him who I was. The dude said he wanted to meet up with me, that he had, a hookup with Suge and they can make anybody a star, and he wanted to go down there and he wanted to do that. So Hip calls me, tells me what's going on. So the guy wants to, get in touch with me, gives me the guy's number. I end up calling the guy. He ends up telling me to meet him at a restaurant. I meet him at a restaurant. Long story short, he sets up a meeting at the Security Bank on the 8th floor for like Monday or Tuesday. When I get in there, who do I see sitting on the desk of this guy's, this guy in this guy's office? It's none other than Amigh Smith. He's sitting there with two of his friends and he's got his feet kicked up and he says, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, bro, they invited me down here. They want to sign an artist, whatever. And he goes, oh, you too. That's what they brought me down here for. And we started chopping it up, whatever. And it was crazy because knew him from a few years ago. And I told him, yeah, I remember you. You were with this person. And no, I don't remember. You kept saying, I don't know you. I don't know you. I'm like, bro, I met you. But anyways, I kept pushing the issue. He denied it. And then I just left it alone because, the lawyer comes in and he says, hey, let's talk business. Tells us what the get down is, that we're going to go down to death row and all this stuff. We go down to death row a few weeks later. The shit is real. It's not a joke. We end up going down to death row. He's got connections with Suge and other people. We go down there. While we're down there and we meet at death row, that took hours and hours and hours, but there was some stuff that was going on inside of death row. And we finally, 8 hours later, Suge comes into the room that we're waiting for him in. And when he comes in there, he sees automatically Amigh with a Tupac rag on. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. And he says, well, what's going on? Let me hear you guys rap or whatever. And Amigh goes, all right. And he starts rapping. He's got this Tupac rag on. And he's got the Tupac rag on. He lets Amigh, I keep saying in quotation marks, he lets Amigh rap for about 10 seconds. Then he stops the music. And he says, as you see on the screen, there's Amigh right there in the middle. He says, man, take that damn rag off your head. There can only be one Pac. I know everybody want to be Pac, but there's only one Pac. And no quicker than 1 second, Amigh reaches up, snatches the rag off of his head. As you see, he's got it tied just like Tupac and everything. He's even trying to sound like him. He always would say, oh, people say I sound like Pac. People say I sound like Pac. And I was tripping like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, we go down there. Eastwood don't like him because they're asking him what part of Compton he's from. He can't say. He's saying he's a Crip. He can't tell people what part of Compton or who he rolled with. Or they're asking him Alondra, Kelly Park. He's like, nah. So I was like, man, there's something fishy because nothing's panning out with this dude. Everything, the energy's just not right. Every time we turn somewhere, we went to Death Row, they don't know. Of course, Eastwood and them don't know him. Reggie Wright didn't know him. Nobody knew him. Suge didn't know him. Like, what part of Compton you from? He couldn't say. So we get back down to Fresno. We set up this big old show, as you see the flyer on the screen. And Suge's going to come down. Corrupt's going to come down. They're going to unveil that they just signed some new artists from Fresno. The Outlaws were there. All that shit. Now, when we come back to Fresno, we set this show up. As you see the back of the flyer now. The Outlaws were coming in. JT the Bigger Figure, Corrupt. We had Lorenzo Neal there as a special guest judge for the rap competition, the battle, and all that. All this time, when we're putting the show together and we're getting these flyers done and we got to go put them out there. So I grab some flyers and I start taking them around town. I'm taking them everywhere. I'm promoting because we're making money off this. Well, I had a truck that I had to go pick up at a body shop in Fresno in the area of where Sandy's is off of McKinley and like Clark area. If you know the area, then you know this is an industrial area right there off in the distance in the little spot right there from Sandy's. Well, I went up in there. I'm talking to the guy about the truck that I want to buy, whatever. It's a 71 Chevy pickup. I got an engine transmission for it. We're negotiating and I go, oh, I remember. Before I leave, I got some flyers in the back pocket and I'm like, hey, man, we got a show coming up. And I go, here's one of the flyers, because I rap, I do this and that. We're fucking with Suge Knight, Death Row Records. He's trying to have a resurgence with his label. Suge had just got out of prison from the Tupac thing. It's 2002, early 2003, late 2002, early 2003. And when I show the dude this flyer, the front of it and the back of it, he goes, hey, I know this guy right here. And he points at Amigh, the light-skinned dude with the rag on his head. And, he points at Amigh, and I said, you know him? Amigh? He goes, his name's not Amigh. And he says, I know him. He's from Reedley. He used to be sitting in his garage across the street from my house all the time, rapping. And one time, my daughter got off the bus, who's 14, because he used to stop right in front of his house. And he tried to call her over there to talk to her. So after work, I found out, and I went over there. And he says he checked Amigh, and Amigh told him, no, I wasn't trying to get at your daughter, man. I was just trying to see if she could come and check out my rap because, I want her to know that I want to know if she'll tell me if she likes it or not, because she's a kid and she'll know. And I want to know, if she digs it. And he goes, I'll rap for you. He puts the boombox on. This is what the guy told me from the body shop. He put the boombox on and he asked him, he started rapping a few bars or whatever. And he asked the dude, what do you think? What do you think? Do I sound like Tupac? The guy said he kept saying, do I sound like Tupac? And he was like, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you sound like Tupac. And he was like, all right, that's cool. Thank you, for listening, this and that. That's all I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to get at your daughter, whatever. And the dude was like, I just kind of brushed it off. I said, all right, no big deal. It's whatever. Just don't do it again. And he said the dude, that Amigh was like, all right, no problem. I won't do it again. I'm sorry. I just wanted her to check out my music and see if she liked it. So I go back and I tell the lawyer this and I tell, everybody there, and Amigh's there. Amigh's right there. When I'm saying what the dude told me, Amigh's like, he's lying. He's lying. I ain't from Reedley. I'm from Compton. He's tripping. I said, the dude said he knew you. this and this, XYZ, and that you try to talk to his daughter when she got off the school bus that was always stopped in front of your house. And he went over there and checked you. Ain't nobody checking me, and that ain't me. I ain't from Wheatley, cuz, and I ain't Mexican, because the dude said he's Mexican. He's not black. I said, the dude said he's black. He says, no, he's Mexican. He said his name was Jesse. And I'm like, so I'm telling the lawyer this and everything. The lawyer of the wife is sitting there and she's like not buying it. And at this point, they're just saying that I'm hating. Right. So I end up knocking out, like, we had a business meeting. You know what I'm saying? We had this business meeting. This is probably about 5 months after that. We have this business meeting, right? And during the business meeting, one of the guys that was there, that wasn't one of us, he was a family member of one of the producers that had came in late, but hadn't gone to death row with us. And he's in the meeting. We're having a meeting because we're just getting distribution money from London, a company in London that was that had got the copyrights and licensing to some of the Chronic and Doggy Style and some Tupac albums, you know, Machiavelli and All Eyes on Me, and they were distributing them in Europe. And you know, so we got Suge help us get a distribution deal with them. So the meeting is talking about that. So during the meeting, this is why this is important, because during the meeting, that guy who was there with his cousin really wasn't part of the label, thought he was. He starts mouthing off to everybody there, whatever. And, you know, all of us starts mouthing off, but not personally, but just like, you know, kind of making blanket statements and flips us off. And he kind of waves his hand in the air. So long story short, I stand up. I say, hey, you know, you flipping me off or you flipping everybody off? And he's like, oh, you know, if you got a problem with it, partner, deal with it. And he pops his collar. When he pops his collar, I start just banking him. You know, he wasn't an overly big dude, but he was bigger than me. So when he was sitting in the computer chair, we're eye level. And I'm pissed. I ain't going to go sit down after that. So I just start drilling him. I hit him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hit him 2, 3 times. He stood up, sticking his hands out, trying to stop me. I lay him out. When I lay him out, he falls down. I go to get on top of him. They pull us apart, speed up a little bit. The lawyer takes me into a corner. He's telling me, Rob, you know, this and that. There's a big old bunch of argument. It's mayhem everywhere. Everybody's arguing. There's about 20 people in there, lawyers, girlfriends, rappers, producers. During the whole thing, when I'm talking to the lawyer and Amai's over there talking to me, cuz you lit him up, cuz this and that, the lawyer's wife rolls up. She's like, we ain't doing this shit. I'm tired of this. I'm going to let it go right now. And I'm going to let it out. And she has a book of mugshots, a photo album. I don't know where she got it from. Right. But she fucking pulls it out. And she just shows it to him and she goes, who the hell is this? And I'm not going to say cuss words, but she shows it to Amai. Who the hell is this, Mr. Jesse Moreno Garcia? And he goes, that ain't me. That's my alias. That ain't my real name. My real name's Amigh Smith. I told you my dad's black. I'm from Compton. That ain't me. She's like, bullshit. You're lying. There's a reason, this and that. Now, during all this, all that happened. But before, let's go back a little bit. Before this time, he was sleeping up in the office, the 8th floor in the Security Bank. He was sleeping up in the office and he had his daughter staying there with him. And, you know, people in the office thought it was weird because he was laying down behind the desk with a blanket, and that's where him and his daughter were sleeping. So I remember the wife of the lawyer saying, that's kind of funny. Why is he doing that? Why is he sleeping back there? Nobody knew and nobody seen anything. No one wanted to think like that. But he was suspect because there were times when we had meetings at Club One, and he'd be sitting there, him and a friend of his, I won't say his name, he'd be sitting there with girls that were like 15, 16, and you could tell they were hella underage, and the wife of the lawyer was calling him out on it. We didn't know why she was mad or jealous at the time, but unbeknownst to a lot of us, the lawyer's wife and Amai, how I say in quotation marks, were having a sexual relationship behind everybody's back, behind the lawyer's back. So she was not only jealous, but she was like calling him out too. Like, these girls are young. What are you doing with them? And he's like, they're not young. They're 18. They're 18. She's like, they are not 18. They're about 15 or 16 at the most. And he was just like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Whatever. Acting like a little kid, denied it. Everybody could see something was up. So she started suspecting. I started suspecting the whole time because I just never believed anything he said, you know. I never believed anything he said because he was just always seemed like he was secretive. He didn't have identification. When we got a advance from death row, he couldn't cash the check because he had no identification. So they had to someone had to cash it for him, deposit it in their bank account and give him the money because he couldn't cash it. He didn't have an identification. Nobody knew why he didn't have identification. And so, it was kind of weird, right? It was kind of weird. So all those things happened. And, I'm skeptical the whole time. And I'm like, we would perform. I'd have to back him up. He'd tell me to stay behind off stage so nobody would see him because he didn't want people to think there was two Mexicans on stage because he's always getting confused for being Mexican. So I had a relationship with him, a working relationship. He wasn't my homie. I didn't go kick it with him off the clock or out of the studio, but I was around him a lot. And I was always skeptical of who he said he was. And when I brought all this information to the table, no one believed me. No one listened to me. A couple of people did, but most people really didn't talk about it. Well, after I knocked the dude out, fast forward again, after I knocked the dude out, Lisa brings out, oh my God, excuse me, I said the name, but the wife of the lawyer brings out the photo album and she shows him the mugshot that says Jesus Moreno Garcia. And he said, that's his alias. That's not his real name. After that, everything went to shit. We didn't get our 100 grand advances. The money was there. We didn't get it. The money disappeared. Everyone kind of went their separate ways. No one was really at the office no more. The label was dead. Everything was dead. After I knocked that dude out, they said, we can't do business like that, Rob. That's not how you do business. I don't give a damn, whatever. Everything ended. I didn't see Amigh for probably about a year after that. He called me for some business stuff. We did some business. That was it. I seen him once or twice after that. Fast forward, and that was like 2004, right? Fast forward 9 years to 2013. And I see him in court. My brother had been shot 5 times and had a GTA case pending. So me and my other brother had to go appear in court for him and tell the judge, hey, you know what I'm saying? My brother can't appear because he's in ICU and he's dying. You know what I mean? So they were like, oh, okay. But while we're sitting in the courtroom waiting for my brother's case to be called, when we walk in, me and my other brother, we can't help notice that, where they sit in Fresno County Superior Court, where they sit everybody, that's in custody or waiting their court to be arraigned or whatever, where the jurors sit, right? And when we walk in, we see none other than who? Who do we see in there? Mr. Amigh Smith, right? So we're sitting there and we're wondering why the hell he's there and what's he there for? You feel what I'm saying? We're like, well, what the hell's this fool here for? What did he do? And so we're sitting there, and then, when it gets to the judge saying, oh, lunchtime's coming, we're going to have to, we're going to call, the next case, and we're going to, XYZ, we're going to call one more case, then we're going to lunch. I'm like, damn, we're going to have to come back. So they call one more case. And who is it? In the case of Jesus, Jesse Moreno Garcia, please stand up. Guess who stands up? Amigh Smith stands up, looks at us, and he gives that look like, damn, because he remembers how I was pushing, how I said he wasn't who he wasn't. And it was weird because we went into the courtroom, and when we went into the courtroom and he made eye contact with us, he was looking at us like we were there for him, or maybe he thought the lawyer sent us or something. But when he stood up and they read that and said, that the charges were what they were, and that the charges were, kind of hard to say. I'm not going to say, but you'll see them on the screen. You'll see them on the screen right now. And when they said those charges, we were like, what the hell? Me and my brother were like, what the hell? So we end up leaving there, coming back, did my other brother's business. And then I was like, wow, but I never heard nothing from him again. I figure, okay, he went to prison for it or whatever. But then I recently found out that he had over 35 felony counts. 35 felony counts against him of the same stuff or, similar to what he had did in the first, as you've seen in the first, when it shows his charges. I don't want to say it because I don't want YouTube to trip out on this, you know what I mean? And yeah, kind of flag it. But he had 35 felony counts, okay? 35 felony counts. And when you think about it, 35 felony counts is a lot. 35 felony counts is a lot. And when you think about it, it's crazy to see. And people are like, oh, well, who's Jesus Moreno Garcia? How can you prove that? How can you prove that Amigh Smith is Jesus Moreno Garcia? Because I still see on his Facebook to this day, people messaging, people leaving comments like, where are you at, cuz? Where you at, homie? I ain't seen or heard from you. I left a comment when I seen him in 2013 in the courtroom. I said he was being arraigned in Fresno County Jail. Look him up under Jesse Moreno Garcia, not Amigh Smith, because that's not his real name. And people said I was lying, that he wasn't Mexican, he wasn't Jesse Moreno Garcia, that he was Amigh Smith. And I was just like, whoa, I was taken aback. Nobody believed me. Nobody believed anything I said. But as you can see, some of the stuff that's on the screen, and you see what it is. And I don't got to tell you, and people are like, oh, but you still haven't proven that Amigh Smith is Jesse Moreno Garcia. And the thing is, when you say that I can't prove that, or I haven't proven it, it's like, bro, come on. I haven't proven it and I can't prove it. People don't understand. People just don't understand that when you come down to shit like this, when you come down to stuff like this, it's not hard to prove. You just got to find it. And it's sad to say that Amigh Smith is Jesus Jesse Moreno Garcia. And as you see some of his aliases, you see his aliases. Come on, it shows you right there on the screen. Everything's right there. His aliases, they're all right there. Moreno Jesse Garcia, Smith Amigh Garcia, Smith Amigh, Moreno Jesse, Smith Amigh G. There's his date of birth, 6'3", 170 pounds. When they arrested him, he was bigger when I knew him. He was about 210, 220. He was a pretty good sized dude. Amigh, or Jesus, he's not a small man. You see what I'm saying? But this is Megan's Law. You can see it. This is Megan's Law. You can find it on Megan's Law. This is not fake. This is real. And you just got to understand that it's sad to see this guy go out like this. It's sad, but I always speculated they were wrong. There was things wrong with him. He was just different in terms of the way that he moved and things that he said and the way he acted. I was always skeptical of him and who he said he was. I never believed it. I never believed it for once. He was from Compton. I never believed he was a Crip. When I found out he was from Reedley, he always kind of kept his eye on me, and then he kind of got cool with me, because before that he was standoffish. He really didn't like me, and he thought I wasn't really anything. But then when I came with that information to the lawyer and everybody, he kind of got nice. He was nice to me and tried to befriend me a little bit and talk to me cool, because I guess he knew that I knew, and he didn't want me to spill more beans on him because he thought I might know more about him. But I didn't know more about him. I just only knew what I knew. But as you see, this is Jesse Moreno. Amigh Smith is Jesse Moreno Garcia. Go look it up for yourself. Go to Megan's Law. Type in Jesse Moreno. It comes up, all of his charges, everything he's done. This guy got sentenced to 159 years or 189 years. He got sentenced to 189 years, dude. And it's weird. It's just crazy because when you think about it, right, and you see everything he did, everything he said, all the lies and all the oh no, you know, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm not this and I'm not that. There was a lot of people from Fresno, from LA, from Nevada. There's a lot of people out there that are going to see this video and been wondering where he's at. They're going to wonder what happened to him. A lot of them wonder what happened to him. This is what happened to him. He's at Valley State Prison for the charges that you see. He had 35 felony counts, all associated to what you saw on the screen. I just didn't want to show all of them because it's just not something you want to be looking at. It's something you want to think about. So I only showed a couple of them. But you can go back. You can go to Megan's Law. Jesse Moreno. He comes up. Look, all his charges. He's not Amigh Smith. I always knew he was a fake. I always knew that's not what his real name was. I always knew he was not black. I always knew he was Mexican, but he did a damn good job to other people to disguise that and lie. He was living two lives. He had tattoos all over him. He had Smith tattooed on his back. This guy lived a double life. This guy was living two lives, and this guy had a lot of people fooled, including the women. Including the women. The women were goo and gaga for this dude. 6'3", 220, light skin. They were all in, oh, he has the look. They were all in love with him. And the way he talked to women was so nice. Oh, you look so good. You smell so good. Oh, you're a lovely lady. All this. And I heard him make comments about women too that I won't repeat. But it was a lot that always led me to believe that he was an imposter and he wasn't who he said he was. And it was just always a weird energy about him. And the time that he did this to the person that he did this to, they were 11 years old all the way to 17. So it was a good 6 years that he was doing this. I met the person. He introduced us to the person that he did this to, or one of the people. And I met them. And it was just weird energy that they had. They were sitting there very quiet, did not even speak or anything. It was just the weirdest thing. So we knew him during the time when he was doing this. And it's sickening to think that he was doing that stuff, then coming up there doing it right under our noses. And no one really knew, but people had ideas but weren't sure about it. Nobody really knew, because you don't want to think like that about somebody, especially somebody like him that claimed to be a gangster, claimed to be from the street, claimed to be a stand-up guy and all this. But I knew there was something wrong with him, and I knew that he was never being truthful. So for all of you that have been wondering what happened to Amigh Smith, and you look in the county jails and you're looking at the morgues and you're calling here and you can't find anybody, it's because there is no Amigh Smith. Amigh Smith was an alias. Amigh Smith was a fake name. When he said he had been to prison before, and people would be like, well, what prison have you been for? Been to? What prison did you go to? And what did you go to for? Oh, I was locked up for this and this. Oh, well, I tried to look you up on the internet and it says you never, oh, I was in Nevada. I was locked up in Nevada. He told people he was in prison in Nevada when they were looking for him. I know this video went a little bit long, but hey, we got to cover everything. We have to cover everything. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Everything that I knew, when I brought it to people's attention, no one believed me. But here's the proof. Here's the proof. Amigh Smith is Jesse Moreno. Jesse Moreno is Amigh Smith. Amigh Smith was a made-up character. He was a wannabe rapper. He wanted to be Tupac so bad. He sounded like Tupac. I got anybody want to buy some albums where they want to hear the shit that he was saying? I got him. We recorded some albums, not together, but as a company. As a company. TFL Entertainment was his baby. You know what I'm saying? I never liked it. I was the one always speaking out against it, but my voice was small because I was not boning the woman who was making the calls, which was the lawyer's wife. She was the one making all the calls. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just crazy to see this. And I just found this out a couple days that he ended up going to prison for, actually, he got sentenced to prison for like 237 years, but then he came back on an appeal and he got 50 years knocked off for some stuff they threw out, pictures that they couldn't identify him or his victims, but they got him for videos because he videoed his victims. He videoed what he was doing. He was getting them drunk. He was doing a lot of things that he shouldn't be doing, that is very sick. And he was doing it right under everybody's nose. This guy videoed his victims that were minors. This guy did everything under the sun. And to me, he deserves to, he deserves to not be here. But karma comes to these folks. He's in Valley State Prison. You want to write him a letter and let him know how displeased you are, that you found out who he really is. He'll probably deny everything and still say it's not him. But hey, to all of you that have been wondering where he's at, Jesse Moreno is in Valley State Prison for all the charges that you've seen. There's 35 of them. I only put a couple up there, but you can find all of them on Megan's Law. Type in Jesse Moreno. He's going to come up, because Amigh Smith is Jesse Moreno. And Amigh Smith was a made-up character. This guy was not real and everybody could see it. Hey, let's not forget, during the show, real quick before I'm done, during our show in Fresno, when the Outlaws came and all that, he was on stage with the Outlaws, Noble, Edie, Napoleon. You guys remember this. You guys let him on stage rapping Tupac's part to Hit 'Em Up. He was up there playing Tupac with you guys. 2003, Fresno, California, the Paul Paul Theater. Corrupt was too drunk to notice he was in the back on the steps, drunk off a big bottle of Hennessy. Lorenzo O'Neal was there. He was a judge, right? He was a judge. There was other people there. But the main thing is this is who Amigh Smith really was. Jesse Moreno. And he was a sick puppy. It's sad to see people go out like this. But like I said before, to all of you that have been wondering for years what happened to him because you ain't seen him, he kind of fell off the earth. No, he didn't. He just had you all fooled. You guys been looking for the wrong guy. You guys been looking for the fake name. You guys been looking for the name of a character, not his real born name, not his God-given name that his parents gave him. This guy lived two lives. This guy thought everybody, he fooled so many promoters. Oh, he's from Compton. He's this, he's that. I never believed it. And I would tell people, they would laugh at me. And I'm not doing this as a revenge or to stick it to him, but I think it's owed to a lot of people, a lot of men, women, and children. Who knows other victims he might have out there? I don't know. But he's doing 189 years in prison for 35 felony counts of lewd and you know what acts with a minor under 14. And he's getting what he deserves. And to his victims, I'm sorry. I apologize to you guys. To everybody that was fooled. Hey, how do you feel now? You guys were fooled and it sucks. It sucks for you, but not for me, because I always knew that there was something off about this guy. And whenever I brought it up, people gave me shit and told me that I was just hating. And that's what's wrong with society today. When you tell the truth about people, you're just a hater. You're just a hater. Oh, you're hating. You're hating because you're not him, because you're not 6'3", because you're not 220, and you're not this and that. The lawyer's wife even said that she remembered seeing him because he tried to say he was my age, but he's 7 years older than me. She said she remembered seeing him at a party in the 90s and he was already in his 20s then. And he said his name was Big Sky. And she remembered him. She said, I remember him. His name was Sky. It's not Amigh. That's where he got his nickname was Sky, because no one had ever seen a Mexican that tall. But there you have it, folks. I gave it to you guys as good as I could. It's one take. It's 1 a.m. I've been trying to put this thing together with pictures and everything. The main objective here is that, hey, this is what happened to him. This is where he's at. Amigh Smith. Jesse Moreno was not black. Jesse Moreno was not from Compton. Jesse Moreno was not a Crip. Jesse Moreno was not Tupac. Jesse Moreno was from Reedley, California. Jesse Moreno was a born Mexican American. Jesse Moreno is more Mexican than me. Jesse Moreno is in prison doing 189 years. Oh, yeah. With that, this has been Raw and Uncut. And, I try to do this as professional as possible. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing. I know it's a hard subject to talk about. Thank you for sticking with me. For those that stuck with me, it's a long video. I apologize. But at the same time, we had to do this. At the same time, it had to be done. People need to know. And it's a long story, but it had to be told. There's more details that I left out for obvious reasons. And, I try to do this as calmly and as respectable as I can. Because there's a lot of things I want to say, and there's a lot of names I want to call them, but I can't. Not here. I'm not going to do it. But, hey, Amigh, Jesse, I told you, bro, that I knew who you were. And you looked me in the face and you told me that I was lying and I made all that up. That I was just making it up because I was hating on you. Because I couldn't be you. Because I couldn't rap like you. Because I didn't look like you. Nah, homie, it's because I was real. And I knew, because this stuff was really happening. People really told me that they knew who you were, and you were trying to talk to their daughter, and you've been this way your whole life, bro. This is nothing new. So like I said, look them up. Megan's Law. You think it's BS? Look it up. There's the case out there. Go to the internet, Google, type in the People versus Moreno, 35 felony counts. May 21st, 2021, he was sentenced on his appeal. And yeah, he did a lot of people wrong. He hurt a lot of people. His karma came. Just a lesson to those out there that think that they can do things that, oh, they think nobody's watching. God is watching. And thank God that his victims came forward, even though it was years later. But they told the people they needed to tell, and he was arrested. And when he was arrested, by the way, the things that he was giving his victims, like chocolate strawberries and Smirnoff Punch and stuff to intoxicate them, were found in his refrigerator. Look up the report. The report's all on the internet. I know this has gone on very long, and I'm sorry. But I hope you guys got your information. And if you don't want to watch the whole video, you don't have to, but just look it up. Look up some of the stuff. I'll put timestamps here and there in the video so you can just fast forward through it if you want. But if you stayed here and watched the whole video, thank you. But I hope you got what you were looking for. Like I said to the victims, I feel bad for them. But at the same time, for everyone else out there, the thousands of people in LA, Nevada, Fresno, and everywhere in between that have been wondering what happened to Amigh Smith. There was no Amigh Smith. His name was Jesse Moreno from Reedley, California. He wasn't from Compton, California. He wasn't black, and he damn sure wasn't a Crip, and he damn sure wasn't Tupac. With that being said, this has been Raw and Uncut. Like, share, subscribe. And like we always do, we out.